This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Someone, the name blacked out, is planning an accident in my car.
Something has come to light that no one ever saw coming. A note, written by Princess Diana herself, has been found in FBI files, hidden away for years. And what it says is truly shocking. For decades, people have wondered about her tragic death. There have been rumors, theories, and questions with no clear answers. But this note? It changes everything. It reveals fears she had, warnings she gave, things that now seem impossible to ignore. Why was it kept secret for so long? Who wanted it hidden? And most importantly, what does this mean for everything we thought we knew? What does the note say? Princess Diana's story has always been full of mystery, but this new discovery takes things to another level. A note, handwritten by Diana herself, has been found in secret FBI documents. But what exactly does it say? At first glance, the letter is shocking. It talks about her deep emotional struggles and hints at something even more unsettling. Some believe it is a suicide note. Others think it might be something else entirely. But before we jump to conclusions, we need to break it down carefully. Did Diana express suicidal thoughts? This is the biggest question. Did Princess Diana really want to take her own life? The note reportedly describes feelings of isolation, fear, and deep sadness. It talks about how she felt like she had no control over her own life. It even suggests that she was overwhelmed to the point where she didn't know how much longer she could keep going. But here's the twist. The wording of the note is not clear-cut. Some experts say it sounds like a cry for help rather than a final goodbye. It's the kind of letter someone writes when they feel trapped, not necessarily when they are ready to give up. Diana had spoken about feeling alone before. She had opened up about her struggles with depression, bulimia, and anxiety. She once said that she felt like a prisoner inside the royal family. So, was this note just another moment where she was expressing her pain? Or was it something more serious? This is where things get complicated. When and where was this note written? The timing of this letter is very important. If Diana wrote it during her divorce from Prince Charles, it would make sense why she was feeling so low. That was one of the hardest times in her life. She was dealing with constant media attention, betrayal, and public humiliation. Imagine this. One day, you're the most loved woman in the world, and the next, you're being pushed out of the royal family. That's exactly what happened to Diana. She had given everything to her marriage. But Charles had been in love with Camilla Parker Bowles the whole time. When the truth finally came out, Diana was devastated. She was also losing her title, her home, and even her sense of security. The royal family was cutting her off, and the press was making things worse. Could this note have been written in the middle of all that? Or was it written even later, when she had finally found love with Dodi Fayed? That changes everything. If she had written it while she was happy, then why would she be thinking about ending her life? The FBI hasn't revealed the exact date of the note yet, and that's what makes this so frustrating. The timeline could tell us whether Diana was truly suicidal, or if this was just a moment of overwhelming stress. Was the handwriting authentic? Now, here's where things get even more suspicious. How do we even know this note is real? Experts have analyzed the handwriting, and from the first look, it does seem to match Diana's usual style. But there are also some strange differences. Some letters don't look quite right. The spacing feels off in certain parts. Now, we have to ask, could someone have forged this letter? If the letter was truly written by Diana, then it is a painful reminder of her struggles. But if it was fake, who would want to create a fake suicide note? And more importantly, why? We have seen cases before where documents related to Diana have been altered. Remember the infamous BBC Panorama interview? It was later revealed that Diana was tricked into giving that interview through fake documents. If people were willing to lie to Diana back then, who's to say they wouldn't lie about this note now? Some theorists believe this letter conveniently appeared to change the way people see Diana's death. If people believe she was suicidal, it takes attention away from the theory that she was murdered. Could this be part of a larger cover-up? How does this compare to Diana's "they are planning my accident" letter? This is where things get really eerie. In 1995, Diana wrote another famous letter to her butler, Paul Burrell. In it, she said something shocking. "My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury." This letter became one of the biggest pieces of evidence for people who believe Diana was assassinated. She had predicted that something would happen to her in a car crash, 2 years before she actually died in a car crash. Now, let's compare the two notes. The 1995 letter clearly shows that Diana believed someone was out to get her. She wasn't suicidal. She was scared. She thought people were plotting against her. The newly found letter seems to suggest the opposite, that Diana was feeling hopeless and might have wanted to harm herself. Do you see how these two letters completely contradict each other? One letter says Diana was fighting for her life because people were targeting her. The other suggests she had given up and was thinking of ending things herself. Which one are we supposed to believe? If Diana had truly been planning to take her own life, then why would she have written that first letter warning about a staged accident? You don't write a note predicting your own murder if you actually plan to harm yourself later. This is why many people don't trust this newly found letter. Some believe it was planted to make Diana's death look less suspicious. After all, if people think she was already struggling, then her tragic end wouldn't seem so strange. It's a way of silencing the murder theories without actually proving anything. But if Diana did write both letters, then this is even more heartbreaking. It would mean she lived in a constant state of fear, sadness, and paranoia, believing that both the world and her own mind were working against her. So, what is the truth? That's the hardest part. We don't know yet. What we do know is that Diana's life was never simple. She was either the most loved woman in the world or the most hunted. She had moments of deep pain, but she also had moments of hope. If this letter is real, then it shows just how much she was struggling. But if it's fake, then someone is still trying to control her story, years after her death. One thing is certain, the mystery of Princess Diana is far from over. Was Diana being watched? First, we need to talk about something that not many people know. Princess Diana was being watched, and not just by the British government, but also by the US intelligence agencies. Now, you might be thinking, why would the FBI or the CIA care about Diana? She wasn't a politician. She wasn't a world leader. She wasn't involved in government affairs. She was a princess who spent her time helping charities and taking care of her 2 sons. But here's the thing, Diana was powerful. Not in a political way, but in a way that scared powerful people. She had the ability to change public opinion overnight. She could speak about a cause, and suddenly the whole world would care. She spoke about things that many people in power didn't want to be talked about. Things like landmines, AIDS awareness, and even corruption. There's one more thing. At the time of her death, Diana was dating Dodi Fayed, an Egyptian billionaire. There were rumors, big, loud rumors, that they were about to get married. Some even believed she was pregnant with his child. Now, let's be real. The British royal family did not like this relationship. Imagine the future King of England, Prince William, having a Muslim stepfather and possibly even a half-sibling who was part Arab. For the monarchy, which had a long history of keeping things traditional, this was a huge deal. So, Diana wasn't just a princess. She was someone who could change history. And that's why she was watched. The US government's secret involvement now, this is where things get even stranger. The FBI has never openly admitted to watching Diana, but the CIA? Well, they slipped up. In 1999, 2 years after her death, the CIA confirmed that they had over 1,000 pages of files on Diana. Yes, you heard that right, 1,000 pages. And guess what? They refused to release most of them. The official reason? National security. Wait, what? National security? Why would a British princess's personal life be a national security issue for the United States? That's the big mystery. Some believe that Diana's campaign against landmines put her on the radar of military groups. Others think that her relationship with Dodi Fayed was what made her a target. And some even go as far as saying that certain governments didn't want her around anymore. But here's where things get even creepier. Among the few documents that were released, there were reports that Diana believed she was being spied on. She had even told her friends that she felt her phone was tapped. And now, years later, we find out that the FBI had a note that she wrote? That's not a coincidence. How was this note discovered? Now let's get to the big part. How was this note even found? Well, it wasn't found in some old storage box. It wasn't lying in a pile of forgotten papers. It was hidden in classified files. The note was part of a batch of secret FBI documents that were only released because of a Freedom of Information Act request. This means that someone had to fight to get these documents unsealed. They weren't just randomly given to the public. For decades, nobody knew this note even existed. It was tucked away, buried in files that nobody had access to. Which makes you wonder, was this information intentionally kept from the public? And if so, why? Was this note suppressed? Now, here's where things get really weird. If this note was so important, why was it hidden for so long? There are only two possible reasons. One, it was just forgotten. It got buried in the middle of thousands of other classified documents, and nobody thought it was important enough to release. But let's be honest. Does that sound likely? This is Princess Diana we're talking about. Every little detail about her life has been analyzed and discussed for years. If there was a note like this, it would have been found much earlier. Which brings us to the second reason, and this one is more disturbing. The note was suppressed on purpose. Think about it. If this note had been released years ago, what would have happened? If it contained anything that supported the theory that Diana was being watched, manipulated, or even threatened, then suddenly, all the conspiracy theories wouldn't seem so crazy anymore. If it suggested that she was struggling mentally in a way that was never made public, then people would start questioning everything about the official story of her death. The bottom line is this: someone didn't want this note to come out, and now that it has, it raises more questions than it answers. So, what does this note really mean? Does it prove Diana was struggling so much that she wanted to take her own life? Or does it make the mystery of her death even deeper? Let's be honest. Since the day Princess Diana died, people have had their doubts. The official story says she was in a car accident while trying to escape the paparazzi. But for years, many believed that it wasn't an accident at all. People said she was murdered. Some believed the royal family was behind it. Others thought powerful forces wanted her gone. But now, with this note coming to light, things have taken an unexpected turn. If Diana really wrote a letter hinting at suicide, does that mean all those theories were wrong? Could it be that she was truly in emotional pain and no one listened? Or, and this is a big or, was this note planted? Was it written under pressure? Was someone trying to build a case even before she died? Does this note challenge the assassination theory? For years, Diana herself believed she was being watched. She once told her butler, Paul Burrell, that she feared for her life. She even wrote a letter predicting that she would die in a car crash. That letter is real. It's been public knowledge for a long time. In it, she said that someone was planning to tamper with her car's brakes. Now, if someone was planning to harm her, why would she also write a note about suicide? These two things don't really match, do they? If this note is real, then some people will say, see? Maybe she wasn't murdered. Maybe she was just deeply sad, and the accident was truly an accident. But is it really that simple? The people who believe she was killed still have questions. They ask, if this note existed all along, why are we only hearing about it now? Why did the FBI have it? And why would a woman who was full of life, a woman who had just started a new relationship, suddenly write a note about ending it all? It just doesn't sit right. If Diana was truly in danger, it's possible that this note was a distraction, a way to make sure that if something happened to her, people wouldn't suspect foul play. And that makes you wonder, was this note really written by Diana? Or does this prove she was under psychological pressure? Let's consider something else. What if this note doesn't mean she planned to harm herself, but instead, it shows the emotional pain she was in? Diana had been through a lot. Her marriage to Prince Charles was a disaster. She felt alone in the royal family. She battled bulimia, depression, and an overwhelming amount of media pressure. Every single thing she did was watched. Every mistake was put on the front page of a newspaper. Every emotion was judged. Imagine being in that position. Imagine feeling like you have no escape. Now add to that the fact that Diana was speaking out. She had done that famous interview with the BBC where she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." She was open about her struggles. She was trying to break free from the royal family's control. And we all know how dangerous it can be when powerful people don't want the truth to come out. Could it be that Diana was being pushed into a mental state where she felt completely helpless? Could she have written this note during one of her lowest moments, not because she actually wanted to end her life, but because she felt like she had no one to turn to? Or, and this is where it gets really dark, was someone making sure she felt that way? Was she being harassed or manipulated into despair? This is something we need to think about. We already know that Diana felt like she was being watched. She had told people that her phones were bugged. She felt like she was being followed. And here's the thing, she wasn't wrong. There have been reports that intelligence agencies were keeping tabs on her. MI6, the British intelligence service, was known to have files on Diana. The FBI had documents on her. The CIA had some records too. The big question is, why? Why were all these intelligence agencies watching a woman who was no longer even a part of the royal family? Some believe it was because of her relationship with Dodi Fayed. He was the son of a billionaire, a man with powerful international connections. There were rumors that Diana and Dodi were going to get married. Some even speculated that she was pregnant. Now, if that was true, it could have caused major problems for the royal family. Think about it. A future king's mother married to a man from a different religious and cultural background? It might not sound like a big deal now, but back then, to the people in power, it could have been. So, was Diana being pushed into a state of despair? Was she being watched so closely that she felt like she had nowhere to go? If someone wanted her out of the picture, could psychological pressure have been part of the plan? And that brings us to the biggest question of all. Did she actually write this note? Or was it written for her? Could this note have been written under duress? This is where things get even murkier. Let's say for a moment that Diana did write this note. But let's also consider that she may not have done it freely. Imagine a scenario where someone close to her convinced her to write it. Maybe they told her, "Write down how you're feeling. It'll help." Maybe they said, "If something happens, people should know you were struggling." But what if that person wasn't looking out for her? What if this note was meant to be used later? And here's something else. What if she didn't write it at all? Handwriting analysis can tell us a lot, but let's be real. Forensics can be manipulated. If someone wanted a document that made Diana's death look like a result of her own struggles, it wouldn't be impossible to create one. That might sound extreme, but we've seen cover-ups before. Powerful people protect their own. If there was something bigger going on, a simple note could help rewrite the narrative. Which brings us to the next big player in this story. The role of the British monarchy and intelligence agencies. If Diana's note was written willingly, it shows her mental state. If it wasn't, it opens up an entirely different conversation. Either way, this note being in the FBI's possession means one thing. Princess Diana was under surveillance. The British monarchy has always denied involvement in Diana's death. They say the crash was a tragic accident. But if Diana really was being watched, we have to ask, were they worried about what she might do next? Did they fear that she was going to expose something? Did they see her as a threat? MI6 has been accused of having a role in her death before. Some former intelligence officers have even claimed that Diana's car crash was no accident. If there was ever a moment to shift the blame away, wouldn't a suicide note be the perfect tool? This note doesn't just change the story, it raises 100 more questions. Was Diana being watched to keep her safe, or to keep her quiet? If she really wrote this note, was it a desperate cry for help? Or was she being pushed into thinking she had no other way out? And most importantly, if this note had never been revealed, would we have ever known about it at all? What do you think? Does this note change your opinion on what really happened to her? Or do you believe there's still something we're not being told? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll keep following the truth, no matter where it leads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thursday marks 20 years since Princess Diana was killed in a car crash inside a Paris tunnel.
For years, people have wondered what really happened to Princess Diana. Some believed it was just a tragic accident, but others thought there was a secret behind it. Now, something unbelievable has happened. Queen Camilla has been sentenced for Diana's death. How did it come to this? What will happen to the royal family now? The truth has finally come out, and nothing will ever be the same again. How Camilla became a suspect. For years, people have whispered, argued, and even shouted about Camilla's role in Diana's tragic story. Was she really just the other woman? Or was there something more? Let's go back to where it all started. Camilla and Charles go way back, before Diana was even in the picture. They met in the early 1970s and fell in love, but for one reason or another, Charles didn't marry her. Instead, he ended up with Diana, a young, beautiful, and innocent woman who seemed perfect for the role of a princess. But there was a problem. Charles never really got over Camilla. Even after marrying Diana, Charles kept Camilla close. Too close. Diana wasn't stupid. She saw what was happening. Imagine being married to a man who secretly loves someone else. That's what Diana had to live with. And she didn't just stay silent about it. In 1995, she sat down for one of the most famous interviews in history. Looking straight at the camera, she said the words that would be remembered forever. There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Boom. Just like that, the world knew the truth. Diana was suffering, and Camilla was the reason. People turned against Camilla instantly. Even after Diana's tragic death in 1997, Camilla was still seen as the villain. When she finally married Charles in 2005, many people refused to accept her. Some still blame her for Diana's pain, and now, with new evidence coming to light, some believe she played a role in Diana's death itself. But how did she go from being a disliked woman to a murder suspect? Let's talk about it. New evidence that sparked investigation. For years, the case of Diana's death was considered closed. The official story was that she died in a tragic car crash in Paris, caused by a drunk driver trying to escape the paparazzi. But was that really all there was to it? Recently, something changed. New documents were leaked. Documents that, according to insiders, were never meant to be seen by the public. These papers hinted at a bigger plot behind Diana's death, something much darker than an accident. But that's not all. Some former royal staff members, who had stayed quiet for decades, finally spoke up. One witness, whose name hasn't been revealed yet for security reasons, claimed that Diana feared for her life before she died. She allegedly told her closest friends that she believed someone was planning to get rid of her. And guess what? She even wrote a letter predicting that she would die in a car crash. That's chilling, isn't it? But here's where Camilla comes in. According to these leaked documents and witness accounts, there were people within the royal circle who saw Diana as a problem. She was too popular, too powerful, and, most importantly, she wasn't afraid to speak the truth. This made her dangerous, especially to those who wanted Charles and Camilla to eventually be together without any obstacles. Now think about it. If you were Camilla and you knew your path to becoming queen was being blocked by a woman the whole world adored, how would you feel? Some believe Camilla didn't just wait for fate to remove Diana. She helped make it happen. But is that really true? Why the case was reopened? For years, people who questioned Diana's death were dismissed as conspiracy theorists. But when so many people believe something, can they all be wrong? The pressure to reopen the case had been growing for a long time. With the new evidence coming to light, authorities had no choice but to take another look. The big question was, if Diana's death wasn't an accident, then who was behind it? And if there was a plan to eliminate her, how deep did it go? Investigators started pulling old records, re-examining statements, and questioning people who had stayed silent for years. One thing became clear. There were too many loose ends in Diana's death. Too many strange coincidences. And the more they dug, the more Camilla's name started popping up. At first, many thought this was crazy. Why would Camilla of all people be involved? But then, when the leaked documents suggested that Diana had warned about a plot against her, people started listening. Diana had mentioned a woman close to Charles, who might have had a reason to see her gone. Could she have been talking about Camilla? The legal pressure leading to Camilla's involvement. As investigators gathered more evidence, the royal family stayed silent. They didn't want to comment on rumors. But behind palace walls, something was happening. Lawyers were being called. Meetings were being held. There was a real fear that this case could turn into the biggest royal scandal in history. And when the police officially announced they were looking into Camilla as a person of interest, the world went crazy. Imagine that. A queen being investigated for the murder of another queen. It sounds like something out of a movie, but it was really happening. Camilla, the woman who had spent decades trying to win over the British public, was now at the center of a criminal case. Some sources claim that when she first heard about the investigation, she laughed it off. She thought it was ridiculous. But as days went by and more evidence came out, she stopped laughing. She reportedly became paranoid, avoiding public events and staying behind palace doors as much as possible. And then came the breaking point. One of the former royal staff members who had been close to Diana was brought in for questioning. What they said has not been fully revealed yet, but insiders claim it was something huge, something that directly linked Camilla to the case. Whatever it was enough to push investigators to take the next step. Charges and key accusations. The prosecution wasted no time. They made it clear from the very beginning. They believed Camilla was involved in Diana's death. But how? What proof did they have? First, they talked about motive. Why would Camilla want Diana gone? Well, everyone knows about the love triangle. Diana herself had said it. There were 3 of us in this marriage. Camilla was always there in the background, waiting. But was she just waiting, or did she take matters into her own hands? Then came the real bombshell. The prosecution claimed they had evidence linking Camilla to people who might have had a hand in Diana's accident. They brought up secret phone calls, hidden meetings, and even documents that suggested Camilla knew more than she ever admitted. But here's the real kicker. The prosecution hinted that Camilla may have been working with powerful people. People with influence, money, and the ability to make things disappear. Could this mean the royal family itself was involved? Was there a hidden network protecting her all these years? The courtroom was silent. People were hanging on to every word. Was Camilla just a woman in love, or was she part of something much darker? Camilla's defense. Then it was time for Camilla's lawyers to speak. They had one job, to convince everyone that Camilla was innocent. But how do you fight against years of rumors, conspiracy theories, and a public that never really liked you in the first place? Camilla sat still, her face pale, as her lawyers argued that she had nothing to do with Diana's death. They said it was absurd. They pointed out that Camilla wasn't even in the country when Diana died. How could she have planned something so big? Then they played the sympathy card. Camilla was a victim too, they said. The public had hated her for years. She had suffered. She had been called names, blamed for ruining Charles and Diana's marriage, and now she was being accused of something even worse. They painted her as a woman who had simply fallen in love with the wrong man at the wrong time. And then came the biggest moment. Did Camilla herself speak? Did she take the stand? Yes, she did. She stood up, hands shaking slightly, and looked straight at the jury. Her voice cracked as she spoke. I did not kill Diana. I had nothing to do with her death. But then came the twist. She didn't stop there. She turned the blame elsewhere. She suggested that if there was a conspiracy, then she wasn't the one pulling the strings. Someone else was. But who? Was she hinting at the royal family? The government? Someone even bigger? People whispered among themselves. What did she mean? Was she telling the truth? Or was she just trying to save herself? Shocking testimonies. And then, the trial took another shocking turn. Witnesses started coming forward. Some of them had never spoken before. Others had been ignored for years. But now they had the world's attention. One former royal staff member claimed they had seen strange meetings between Camilla and people linked to British intelligence. They had overheard conversations about Diana being a problem. A driver who worked for the royal family revealed something even darker. He claimed that the night Diana died, there was already talk inside the palace about what had happened, before the news had even broken. How could they have known so soon? Unless they had expected it? And then came the biggest shock of all. A former security officer, someone who had worked closely with Charles and Camilla, took the stand. He looked nervous, wiping sweat from his forehead. He took a deep breath and then said it. "I was told to keep quiet. I was told Diana's accident wasn't an accident." Gasps filled the courtroom. Even Camilla's lawyers looked shaken. Who told him to keep quiet? Why? The judge called for order, but the damage was done. The jury had heard everything. The world had heard everything. Final verdict and sentencing. The courtroom waited. Hours passed. People outside were glued to their screens. What would happen? Would Camilla walk free? Or would this be the day justice was finally served? Then, the jury returned. The room held its breath. The judge asked the foreman to read the verdict. Guilty. The word echoed through the room. Camilla blinked as if she hadn't heard it. Guilty? Number that couldn't be right. The judge began to speak. He talked about the seriousness of the crime, the need for justice, and then finally he gave the sentence. Life in prison. The room exploded. Some people cheered, others gasped. Reporters rushed outside to break the news. Queen Camilla, now just Camilla Parker Bowles again, had been sentenced to life. And then came her reaction. At first, she sat frozen. Her face turned red, her hands clenched into fists. Then, suddenly, she stood up and shouted, "This is a setup! I didn't do anything." She turned to Charles, who was sitting nearby, his face pale and expressionless. "Say something. Tell them." But Charles didn't move. He just stared ahead, like he wasn't really there. Camilla tried again. She begged, she screamed, but no one listened. The guards moved in, grabbing her arms. She fought, but it was no use. They led her away, her voice still echoing through the room. And just like that, it was over. But was it? Because as Camilla was taken out, the questions still remained. Was she really the mastermind? Or was she just a piece in a much bigger game? And if she was, then who was still out there, hiding in the shadows? So, what happens next? Camilla has just been sentenced. The entire world is in shock, and now the big question is, where does she go from here? Camilla's fate. Now, let's be real. Camilla is not the kind of person to just sit back and say, "Oh well, I guess I'll go to prison now." She has spent decades climbing her way to the top. She went from being the most hated woman in Britain to the queen of the country. Do you really think she will give up that easily? Camilla still has powerful friends, expensive lawyers, and, most importantly, King Charles himself. He has spent years defending her, making the public accept her, and trying to erase the memory of Princess Diana. Would he just stand there and let her rot in jail? Absolutely not. So, of course, the first thing Camilla will do is appeal. Her lawyers will argue that the trial was unfair, that the evidence wasn't strong enough, and that she was targeted because of who she is. They might even say that the case was nothing but a conspiracy to bring down the monarchy. But here's the problem. Appeals take time. A long, long time. While the process is happening, Camilla will have to wait. And no, she won't be waiting in her fancy palace. She will be in prison. Well, Camilla won't be thrown into just any regular prison. She won't be sitting in a tiny cell with 10 other women. She is still the queen consort, and whether people like it or not, she has special status. This means she will likely be sent to a high-security prison for VIPs, where she will have her own cell, some level of protection, and probably more comfort than an average prisoner. One possible location is HMP Bronzefield, the UK's most high-profile women's prison. It has housed some of the most dangerous female criminals in Britain, but it also has private cells for high-profile inmates. Camilla would likely have limited contact with other prisoners for safety reasons, but make no mistake, prison is still prison. There are no royal servants, no fancy dinners, No designer dresses, just a small room, a metal bed, and a life completely controlled by prison rules. Can you imagine Camilla waking up to the sound of prison guards, eating simple food off a plastic tray, and having no access to luxury? Would she even be able to survive it? And then there's another question. How will the public react to seeing a queen in prison? Would people feel bad for her? Or would they celebrate, saying justice has finally been served for Diana? The monarchy's future. Now, here's where things take a dark turn for the royal family. Because this isn't just about Camilla. This is about King Charles too. Think about it. His wife has just been convicted for being involved in the death of Princess Diana. His entire reputation is now hanging by a thread. People are furious. The media is going crazy. Protests are breaking out in the streets. And the big question on everyone's mind is, can King Charles stay on the throne after this? For years, there were already people who didn't want Charles to be king. Many believed the throne should have gone straight to Prince William after Queen Elizabeth's death. Charles was never as popular as his mother, and now, with this scandal, his rule is in serious danger. The British monarchy survives on public support. If the people lose faith, the system starts to fall apart. And let's be honest, after this trial, how many people will still support him? The Queen was loved because she stayed away from scandals. Charles, on the other hand, is now right in the middle of one of the biggest royal scandals of all time. Some experts believe that he will try to hold on to the throne, hoping the public will eventually move on. But others think he might be forced to step down, either because of public pressure, or even because of a decision made within the royal family itself. And if Charles steps down, who takes over? Prince William. Will this scandal lead to the end of the monarchy? Now, this is the biggest question of them all. Could this be the final nail in the coffin for the British royal family? We have to remember, the monarchy has already been struggling. Younger generations are losing interest. Many people feel like the royal family is outdated, unnecessary, and a waste of taxpayer money. But this could push things over the edge. For decades, people have suspected that Diana's death wasn't an accident. Now, with Camilla's sentencing, many will see this as proof that something dark has always been lurking within the royal family. And when the public loses trust, it's very hard to get it back. Imagine this. Millions of people demanding the monarchy be abolished. Protests outside Buckingham Palace. Governments debating whether to cut off funding to the royals. Could we really see the end of the monarchy in our lifetime? One thing is for sure. After this scandal, the royal family will never be the same again. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Camilla deserves this sentence? Will Charles survive the backlash, or is his reign doomed? And most importantly, do you believe this could be the beginning of the end for the British royal family? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you don't want to miss the next update on this insane royal scandal, subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when I drop a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.